Welcome to Resilience and Renewal in Your Third Act, a free online event featuring inspiring thought leaders and visionaries who can help you re-envision a life of fortitude and grace. Share this event with your friends and family, and come join us on Facebook at The Shift Network. And now your host, Sabrina Chaw.
Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to introduce you to Pamela Madsen. As a pioneer in fertility and sex advocacy, Pamela is the founder and CEO of Back to the Body Sensuous Retreats for Women, who in the last 6 years has had 50 sold-out retreats, when many women repeating as many as 4 retreats. Pamela, a certified somatic sex educator, is a veteran speaker, educator, and renowned blogger for the Huffington Post, Psychology Today, and has appeared on 60 Minutes, Oprah, CNN, and many other programs. She's the author of Shameless, How I Ditched the Diet, Got Naked, Found True Pleasure, and Still Got Home in Time to Cook Dinner. Pamela, welcome to the summit.
Hi. I love that we are going to be talking about my favorite subject, which is, women after 50 and the opportunity to really blossom. And I hesitate around the word sex goddess because it's so overused, but indulge me. To blossom into, the opportunity to be our own sex goddess and to not take all of the sexy potential that women are holding into their bodies, like literally to their box and unused. And I want women to fire it up, use it up, enjoy it, because after the pause, it's play.
Yes, after the pause is play, and that is what you talk about press play, sexuality.
Press play.
Yeah. So let's talk about play, and let's talk about sex after menopause. You've worked with so many women, thousands and thousands of women. What happens generally to women after menopause in regards to sex?
Well, what happens is that we do go through a change. So, we just talk about that for half a second, okay? When we're adolescents, right, we go through a change. And, our breasts grow, we get our menses, our hormones shift. And, there's this period of time when we're all, are you there, guard? It's me, Margaret, Judy Bloomers. We're, trying to understand this new set of body that we have. The same thing happens when we go through perimenopause and then launch into the menopause years. Is our physical body goes through a transition. And there's the allowing for, I feel a little different, and then allowing yourself to get accustomed to what may be a new normal, a baseline, new normal. And then once you ground into that, how do we actually enhance our inner pharmacy? And is it really all about estrogen and progesterone and da-da-da-da-da-da-da? I got to tell you, I'm closer to 60 than 50 and I don't wear a patch. Doesn't mean that you don't have to or want to, but there's so many ways for women to activate, play, not pause. And some of it is through accessing what I love to name as our inner pharmacy. So do you have curiosity about that inner pharmacy and how that can relate to our happiness loop?
Absolutely.
All right.
That's what we want to do is
all right.
Whatever we can enhance.
So this is something that you don't buy at the store, okay? There's no product sale here. This is about your relationship with all of your fabulous neurotransmitters that you have currently in your body and that you can stimulate through your vulva. Some women still like the word, there's all this debate, vulva, vagina. I get very tired of that one. But just so we know what we're talking about, to name your anatomy, your vagina is actually the entrance to what may be known as the birth canal. It's where penetration happens. And the vulva is all the rest of you. Your inner and outer lips, your clitoris, your clitoral hood, all the other parts, the clitoral legs, that's all part of your vulva. And we'll be talking about all of that today. So one of the ways that we want to influence your feel-good neurotransmitters is by activating and encouraging your body to produce some of these lovely things like dopamine. And you may have heard of dopamine. You may have heard of oxytocin, endorphins. You may have heard about serotonin. So these are things that actually do not disappear with menopause. They're like, I'm here. What are we going to do? How are you going to wake me up? Right? And if you're feeling like, wow, where did my libido go? Wow, I'm feeling like really not into it. There's a couple of things. One is let's stimulate those fantastic neural chemicals in your body. Dopamine is going to wake you up. It's going to make you feel more excited. Oxytocin is going to bring love hormone up into you. I teach something called the Lotus lift. And, you know, it's my free gift to all you ladies. You'll be able to get it through this wonderful network. I can't teach the whole thing here, but I'm going to give you the basics. Is that okay if I give them the basics? All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so the basics is you're going to take your hand in like a cup, like that. And you can only see me from the waist up. But I'm literally going to take my hand, and I'm going to sit on it. And I'm going to cup my vulva. Remember what I said what the vulva was? It's all the outside parts of your genitals. And I like to put my hand to my heart. And I call this the Lotus lift meditation. And so it's a rocking back and forth that you can do. Now, I do it with soul questions, using my arousal to connect me back to my source. Who am I? What do I want? What's getting in my way? But in actuality, what I'm doing by rocking and holding my vulva, Sabrina, is I am stimulating neurotransmitters in my body that make us feel more alive. It wakes up my dopamine, makes up my oxytocin, my serotonin, all those great stuff. And I feel better throughout the day. Unfortunately, what has been the solution to feeling low libido or sad or distressed in the hormonal changes that are rocking our body is, well, let's put that woman on antidepressants. The bummer about that is it suppresses your neurotransmitters. So in what the doctors are trying to fix, what may be happening is they're suppressing your inner pharmacy while trying to feed you an outer pharmacy. And again, I'm not a doctor. If you have deep depression issues, please don't take advice from me. But if you're a woman who is struggling with feelings of lowness, low desire, maybe some, like, I'm just not into it. I don't feel embodied. I don't feel alive. I don't feel like a turned on woman. Check out Lotus Lift Meditation. It's really simple. It doesn't need to lead to full-on self-pleasuring. It's taking your erotic energy and putting it in a healing box. And you can do it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes with your clothing on. You can do it with your clothing off. Do it in a way that's comfortable for you. No gimmicks, no tricks. And you don't have to buy it or get a prescription. I just gave it to you for free with the help of the Shift Network. Isn't that amazing? And this was profiled in Oprah Magazine. It's one of my biggest tools that I offer to women to turn themselves on. Do you have a question about it, Sabrina, before I move on?
I do, Pamela.
Okay.
Because as you were guiding us through that, I was doing it, and I can feel the stimulation and the juices flowing more. And also, though, you know, especially because we're during these times of pandemic, there's a mindset that is prevalent because maybe there's a loss of job, there's a loss of beloveds, there's a lot of stress out there right now. So you know how they talk about the brain being the biggest organ for sex, right? Whether that's true or not, I don't know what your thoughts are. I'm interested in it, but what do we do to create the mindset so that we can kind of get going there?
Well, what I'm doing with my ladies right now, and because we're not in retreat right now. I'm most famous for my retreats, but we've all gone virtual, right? So with my Everyday Women, which is my virtual program, we've been practicing being erotic when we don't even feel like being erotic, right? And so we sort of have to cultivate. We have to cultivate. Like the fact that you're watching this program right now means that you are a self-seeker, means that you are someone that is willing to cultivate, even if you're not really feeling it, right? But you want to feel sexy. Even if you're not feeling sexy, you have a desire to feel sexy. So how can you cultivate feeling sexy? Well, you can cultivate it by participating in groups like this or other groups. You can cultivate it by saying, I've always been a little bit interested I'm just going to pick a sexy topic, 50 Shades of Grey scenario. I've always been curious about that. Well, this would be the time maybe and I have no affiliates with any products, just all right? So if I mention products, Pamela's not making money, okay, because I'm not that smart, all right? But I like this thing called Dipsy, which is an app and I can turn it on and I can listen to erotica stories, sometimes in a man or a woman's voice, depending on what you're exploring in your life. And doing that while you do Lotus Lift, or being curious and going online. And I've been exploring sexy talk. Like, why is sexy talk a thing? Well, I found out why, because it's not just about cultivating something kinky in your life. It's about cultivating and liberating your language. And in menopause, honey, if you're ever going to cultivate your language, now's the time. How do we speak sexy to each other? How do we develop, how do we clear the boredom? Most women with low libido, it's not about your estrogen. It's about your boredom. You're not cultivating your sexuality. So get some ideas. And then you've got to clear the weeds, Sabrina. Like, clear the weeds of your grief for a little while. Try to create a space in your home that feels like a safe space. We are not going to get an instant message from somebody who's distressed, or your family is going to leave you alone. Women after 50 still sometimes have children in the house. They may be teenagers. They may be younger than you might expect. They could be grandchildren living amongst them, especially right now. People are sheltering together. So create a time where you actually get to be alone. And, clear the weeds of your self-doubt. Clear the weeds of, my neck is crepey. All the things. My body has changed. Yes, it has. And it's a hot body. And how do we get compassionate around that? And then the third stage for that, happiness loop, would be to actually do the things. So create a focus, Sabrina. Like an area that you want to cultivate in your eroticism or with your partner. Clear the weeds, the shame, indulgence, money issues, clear them, get a safe space, and then go do it. Go do it. I've been doing sex education and waist down for 20 years, whether it's fertility or sexuality. I'm still learning. And every time I cultivate a new thing, I get sexier. I get hotter. My eyes sparkle. Guys, I'm closer to 60 than 50. And this is what it is to live a turned on life. And, I'm actually a very ordinary and unique woman, right? I've been married almost 40 years. I had 2 children. I'm still with the bloke. He's in the other room. And I live a turned on life. And a lot of that is my own willingness to live, my own relentlessness, Sabrina. Maybe it's a relentlessness that I want to have a sexually vibrant life, and I want to love this body, and I want to show it off, and I want to be in it. And that takes a willingness to practice and go where it's uncomfortable, where we feel shame, clear the weeds. You know how to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Put on some gloves, pluck them out, and then just do it. I don't care if you don't feel like doing it. Sometimes you gotta do the thing. You didn't want to practice the piano, right? So to be a sexual virtuoso, you need to practice. So I'll take a breath and see what you've got for me, Sabrina, before I go on some more. Because, I'm kind of turned on.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And I think the audience is getting turned on as you're speaking.
I love that.
Pamela, let me ask you you speak about the lovership of the vagina. And I know you're sort of talking about that now. Can you speak more about that and elucidate us more as to what you mean by that and how we can do vaginal self-care, how we can love our vagina the way that you speak?
Well, there's the different parts of that, right? So there's vulva, vagina, self-care. So this is what I believe. I believe that our vulva, vagina, I'm going to say both together, vulva, vagina, needs us to take care of it. So what we may be doing in our life is paying attention to those subtle changes that happen in menopause. You may feel a little drier in your vulva area. Well, my skin up here got drier too, right? So what did I do? I put cream on my face. So think of your vulva having a face. And I like to keep coconut oil in the bathroom. And after I use the bathroom, I put a little coconut oil on my fingers. And I put it on my inner and outer lips and near the introitus, the opening of my vagina. And that keeps me moist. If you go through a period that you're feeling vaginal dryness or that change in lubrication, first of all, the change in lubrication is not a change in your turn on, okay? So you can be really hot and orgasmic and be drier in your vagina and your vulva. Don't let that bother you. We've got things for that. So lubrication is your friend. And wetness is not an indication of your turn on. So just really get that. And if you are with a partner, help your partner understand that you're going through hormonal shifts and that you are excited and that they need to use some lubrication. And you can self-lube before you get on there. And there are products, and I don't know how you feel, Sabrina, about me showing products, but there are products that are moisturizers that are made for women. And some of them have their own insertables, like little plastic insertables. And you can just literally put it in your vagina and squeeze. You're done. I don't, and I will show this product. Again, I make no money, guys, all right? I'm in love with sex butter. Everybody knows that. I put this on my pussy. Oops, said the pussy word. Hope we're all not dying. I put this on my vulva before I have any kind of sexual contact. I take care of me. You shower before you're with a lover, your partner? You brush your teeth? Well, in menopause, You take care of her. You take care of her. So that may be using a vaginal moisturizer, not a douche, no douching. She's clean. We're talking about making her slippery, all right? A whole other thing. And you want organic products in your vagina because it goes directly into your body. Products like that with the applicator are so nice. The sex butter, I just put around my inner labia. That whole area gets it really moist. And then I show up in my décolleté, in my outfits, in my lingerie, if I'm that way, or naked for myself or for my partner. So just like brushing my teeth before I'm with somebody or engaging erotically, I take care and I love her so that she will have a good experience and it will be enjoyable. No man should be spitting in his hand before he touches your vagina to have sex with you, okay? You need to take control. You're a grown-ass woman now, right? You need to shop for your products. You need to do your self-care. If you've got your skincare figured out, let's get your vulva care figured out so that you can show up as hot as you want. And I'll tell you a secret. Again, not a product endorsement. Don't make any money. I do believe in the eggs. I do. Now, these are rose quartz eggs. Most of the egg talk out there in vaginal health is around the jade egg. That's cool. I just kind of love the idea of putting love in my vagina, and the rose quartz means love. What I will caution you about is go to a reputable vaginal egg dealer. Because you just don't want to go to some like rock shop and go, oh, look, it's an egg. I'm going to buy that. It's so pretty. I'm going to put that in my body. No, You don't know where that egg has been, okay? You want a nice, clean egg. You want an egg that hasn't been treated with chemicals. Because the cells in your vagina are like the cells in your throat. And it absorbs. So why would I tell you to put an egg in your body? And they usually come in like different sizes. Like these are in the plastic bags because I use them to talk about. So some women's vaginas are very, very tight. If you haven't had intercourse in a long time, you may want a little like quail egg in there, okay? No shaming, just comfort level. And then you can go to like a medium-sized egg, you know, and then maybe a large egg. And what the eggs do for your vagina is they bounce around all day or all night. And they exercise and open your vagina. And it's a way of self-loving your vagina by keeping her open. I found that by using the eggs during the very beginning of my menopause years, I went from having a drier vagina initially. But then, Sabrina, as I worked with myself, I retrained my body again, and the egg, and using lube, and self-pleasuring, and rocking. My lubrication returned to me. So, you know, it's like again, think of adolescence. The beginning of your menopause, your body is readjusting. Just work with it. Don't shame it. Don't call yourself names. You know, dry does not mean not turned on. And things can return and shift. What I can tell you also is it's really important, really, 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 really important in self-loving your vulva and your vagina is keeping her open. So a lot of us, especially if you, I don't know when this is airing and how long COVID-19 is going to be with us, but if you're separate from a partner, and if you're having what I call unconscious celibacy, like you didn't mean to be celibate, it just happened, or your partner isn't into having intercourse right now, please get yourself an insertable. I mean, I'm reaching for this, which is not that attractive, but an insertable, otherwise known as a dildo. Okay, and they also have dilators. You want to keep your vaginal canal open so that you can enjoy it. And then when you're back, enjoy it from your own pleasure, for your own exploration. And then if you're back with a partner, he has a place to put his penis. Because if you don't use your vagina, the tunnel is going to close. So you've got to do some maintenance at home. You know, like Zen but oh yes, can I just say it though? Zen and the art of vaginal maintenance, right?
Can I ask you how often you recommend doing these type of exercises, Pamela? Like you said, bouncing around all day. So do you keep the egg inside all day? I mean, so what do you?
Yeah, you can. There's no rules. So they have a little hole in them here, Sabrina, that people can't see. You want an egg with a hole, okay? And then you put dental floss through the hole. I really suggest not using minted. Don't use minted, because that will sting in not a nice way, all right? And you make a little tie, and then you can pop it up, and then you can pull it out easily like a tampon when you want to. Don't wear loose pants or no underwear, because you will sometimes lay an egg. And there's just nothing like being in a supermarket and having the egg drop down your leg and roll down the vegetable aisle. And yes, it has happened to me, so I can warn you about these things that could happen. And when you go to the bathroom, you may forget that you're wearing the egg and it will pop out. You have to fish it out and boil it for 5 minutes. You can wear it at night. You can wear it at home. There are exercises that you can do with the egg. And there are like sex educators all over that like specialize in, jade egg, rock and roll. I have to tell you, I'm lazy. Okay, if I have to do 20 exercises with my egg, I won't put it in. So if you are one of those gals who love taking aerobic classes and really into those courses, then go find a course on jade egg. If you're listening to me, just get it, put it in, don't make a fuss. It's going to bounce around. It's going to keep you open. It's going to, when we stop menstruating, Sabrina, we disconnect a little bit from our vulvas. We're not like, are we going to get our period? Do we have our period? Is our period over? We spend a lot of time in our lives fussing about our vulvas. What's it doing now? Right? But when we're in menopause, it's like, vulva? We kind of forget that we have one. Because we think she doesn't require any maintenance. We're not worried about it. So I would suggest making some of these a daily practice. Coconut oil, a daily practice. Some kind of lotus lift meditation. Holding and rocking, checking in with her in the morning and at night. Like it gets, I know that for some women it may start to feel a little woo-woo, but in honesty, we hold a lot of trauma in our pelvic bowl. And as we get older, there's more trauma. And the times we're living in doesn't help. And so take the time to hold yourself and rock and listen to your body and take care of her. And make the time to be sexually curious. I know you may not feel like it, but don't I look great? Don't I look alive and happy?
Well, let me ask you
because I take the time.
Well, you take the time, and you also have the technique and the mindset, and it sounds like a very willing partner. Let's go into the O word, Pamela, orgasm, and the importance of that.
Okay.
What are your thoughts about orgasm? And, some people say, oh, that isn't the end all. Some people say, well, Montauk Chia would say that's the way for women to get their life force energy is to have as many orgasms as possible. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, first of all, we'll leave my partner out of it. because it has nothing to do with my partner. It has to do with the woman and how we embody our bodies. And honestly, to make it more simple, the things and the tools that I'm offering women are not highly technical skills, okay? These are things that are easy for everyone to do. So I want to take that off the table as a weed that you have to pull. That, well, if I was Pamela Madsen, I could do that. And I would say, I was a kindergarten teacher too. I'm a regular gal who has turned my attention on this part of my life. So where do we put our attention? Is it orgasm? Well, I like dessert like any girl, okay? I like a cupcake at the end of my meal. But what Montauk Chia is talking honestly from a very patriarchal point of view. He doesn't know what it's like to have a vulva. What I would say is, what about 90 minutes of arousal? What does 90 minutes of playing in your arousal do for a woman? Now, that's what I do at my retreats. That's what I do at my programs, is we get women in their vulva, in arousal, in pleasure. We get women off their backs by doing somatic work with them. And orgasm sometimes happens. We don't worry about it. What we worry about is that the life force energy, the manifestation energy, actually comes from your arousal. Now, I can tell you that when I was 21, I would have one orgasm. And I was orgasmic as a young child. But it was one orgasm. In my 50s, I can have 16. It's about choosing where I want to go. And what most women don't know is that arousal takes time to build. And most women in a patriarchal model get 3 to 5 minutes of foreplay. Women fake orgasm because men fake foreplay. Okay? Our vulvas need to be full of blood. Our whole bodies need to be aroused. And that is not a 5-minute game. And when we put women in arousal and support them for an hour in arousal, then those multiple orgasms come. And they come with no problem because she's properly aroused. She is engorged. Her body is yearning. Her body is begging. She's not trying to catch up to a masculine partner who thinks that when she's wet, she's fully aroused, and it's time to penetrate her. And that's the problem, Sabrina. Women are often the receivers of premature penetration. And we get in this big, and we feel all this pressure that we have to get to a very high state in a very short amount of time. We're not built like men. And it's time to teach men and women about that. That it's really, if we put our focus on the arousal, then orgasms will follow. And they may be the biggest and most beautiful orgasms of your life. I have women in their 50s and 60s who have never had a climax, who are having multiple orgasms because they never had full arousal. Did I answer your question?
Oh, absolutely. I really appreciate what you just said, Pamela, because there's been a lot of debate as to the importance of orgasm. And you also brought up something about how the body is yearning, the body is begging. And when I think about fantasy, right, what the body is yearning in, when we mentally bring up in our minds what we're fantasizing about, what are we yearning for, what are we longing for? Do you have any recommendations or thoughts about using fantasy and what serves us in the deepest ways?
Yes. So back to referencing my own programs, we do fantasy play. We teach women about fantasy. Fantasy is another skill. Some women say, I don't have any fantasies. And you talk to them and they were like, oh, well, those are thoughts. Well, honey, thoughts are fantasies. If you're thinking about, having sex with somebody that maybe you're not supposed to, that's fantasy. And I'm not going to give you the erotic equation. And I'm going to reference Jack Moran, who has passed away, and you all should read The Erotic Mind. It's a beautiful book. And what he says is the turn-on lives in prohibition, obstacles, prohibition and obstacles, yearning, and then desire. So the problem is, or the solution is, in our fantasies, most of those romantic novels, Romeo and Juliet, no, their families wouldn't let them be together. There was prohibition, the obstacles of what would happen if they were together, and then the yearning. The erotic books that we read, all those romance novels, they're built on the fantasy of prohibition, obstacle, yearning, desire. It's called the erotic equation. So how do you go and stoke your erotic equation? I've already read the erotica. There is, everyone has different feelings about pornography, but there is girl porn out there. Porn that was created for women by women, heteronormative, non-binary, gay, whatever. There is beautiful, if you're a visual person, clear the weeds. Clear the weeds from your desire. Don't shame yourself. Maybe you need visual support in developing fantasies. Pornography is not education, it's entertainment. It's entertainment. But in the entertainment, we can cultivate ideas. As I mentioned before, this app Dipsy that I'm enjoying, I really should get something from them, like a free membership. I've been talking about them. Cultivates your fantasy life. And I have a friend, and when I play with this friend, what he does is he leaves notes for me. And he'll say something like, put this on and wait for me. And, I want you to wear the color red when you do your next interview. So when I watch it, I get to see you in red. Play little erotic games with each other to stoke fantasy. I'm a big believer in the massage table as a place for couples who have not been erotic together. And let's face it, and I'm not shaming, but a lot of people in your 50s or 60s, you may have been married for 10, 20, 30, or 40 years by now if you've stayed with that partner. You need to stoke fantasy. You need to take it out of the bed. You need to play with these things that are available right now. And so how do you leave sexy notes? How do you surprise somebody with a massage table and give them a full body massage? Play music. Can you dress up? When was the last time you put on thigh-high stockings? When was the last time do you have judgment because you don't look the same as when you were 20? Well, maybe that's sexy for your partner and sexy for you. I'm chubby. I'm not a thin girl. And you know what? My flesh is really sexy to touch. We have lots of stories about our bodies and what was and what will be and how can we do fantasy if we're not 20. Well, honey, you can do it even better after you've hit those fabulous menopause years, because you don't have little kids running around and you have a credit card and you can take a trip and you can hire a sex educator and you can go on a retreat and you have the freedom to live your fantasies and get help. Sometimes sex needs a team. It's a team sport. You need to build a team for people to support you. And I think fantasy and playing is that's the biggest discovery of menopause, is that you're not worried about getting pregnant. You're not worried about your parents. You can do the things and not get caught.
I love that, Pamela. Let me ask you a little bit more about fantasy and about
Okay.
what serves the woman more. Say a woman doesn't really feel like having sex, and you've talked about, what causes that, right? Is it better to just have sex with a partner, even though you don't feel like doing it, because maybe you'll discover something during that journey with your partner that can open you, even though mentally you don't really feel like doing it? Or is it better not to have sex and just go into fantasy? Just, use your insertable, your dildo, and serve you the way that you know to serve you. What is the best thing, the choice between the two that would serve women the most?
Well, I hate enduring. I hate women to endure. And what if you could bring fantasy to your sex life with your partner and they don't even know about it? So what if you listen to like a Dipsy story or a romantic novel, or you watch some girl porn and you close your eyes and you allow their hands to be the hands of the story? Can you pretend that their hands are the hands of this character? I mean, can you go, spank me, babe? Yeah, babe. How do we talk to our partners to support them in giving us what we want in fantasy, in life? We need to liberate our language, Sabrina. We need to be able to say, babe, that feels so good when you squeeze me that hard. It feels so good when you pin my arm like that. That felt so good. Can you do it again? And bringing our partners into the erotic fullness of a fantasy life. And what's going on in your head is what's going on in your head. And cultivate it outside of your partnership bed. Play with these ideas, cultivate it. Talk about bringing it into your relationship. So here's a couple game. I'll offer a tool. So right now it's hard to go into sex stores, but maybe later it will be easier. You can do this online. Everyone takes your laptop. You, your partner, you each have a laptop. You open up a sex shop. There's lots of them online. And you each look around and you fill the basket with all kinds of things that you're curious about. It could be a book. It could be a sex toy. Oh my God. It could be a paddle. It could be a flogger, right? So you can, maybe it's a brand new vibrator. So you fill your cart and then you take his or her cart back and forth and you look in the cart. What did your partner pick? Because sometimes it's easier to show than tell. And so, if my partner, who's a man, picks bend over boyfriend, I know that he's interested in something I didn't know about. If there are strap-ons and dildos in his cart, he's not wearing them, they're for me. So I've just learned something I may not have known about my partner. Here's the rule. No yucking yums. So you can't go into your partner's wagon and go out loud, holy shit, I didn't know that you were into that. I can't do that, or, that's really weird. No. Grown-ass woman, you're a grown-ass woman. You take it in. No shaming. This is vulnerable. It's vulnerable for you. It's vulnerable for them. You get those guidelines out there, okay? No yucking the yums. And then you pick 3 items that you're willing to explore in fantasy and play, getting the boredom out, raising our libidos, doing something different and exciting. They pick 3 from yours. When I do this with couples, in real time, I see them can we buy everything in each other's baskets? The answer is yes. You can buy everything in each other's baskets, but you might want to start with 3. Get it delivered, Everyone's getting that delivery service right now. Take it in, and don't forget the lube, okay? Don't forget the lube. and those moisturizing products, and experiment with each other. Bring something new and different. That is a part of fantasy, Sabrina. That is. And so maybe they don't have to choose. Maybe it's cultivating fantasy on your own, and self-pleasuring and vaginal vulva self-care and moving our endorphins. And maybe it's getting a massage table, and maybe it's buying toys with your partner. Maybe it's all of it. Maybe it's all of it. Because really you want to play with your sexuality. And that means keeping yourself healthy, cultivating desire, clearing the weeds, and actually doing something. You got to do something. If you don't do anything, you're going to be whining about the same thing in 10 years. And that gets boring.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Pamela.
My pleasure.
I felt like it was just this vortex of inspiring, sexy, sassy wisdom. I'm still in it. You know?
I'm glad. This is what I do.
Can I ask you a personal question?
They're all personal, sure.
Okay. What, at this point in your sexual life as a woman, is the most challenging for you, and what are you doing to get through it?
Boredom, sexual boredom. So, what I share, my tips are tips that I'm doing. I'm listening to Dipsy. I'm exploring more dirty talk. How do I use it in my life? Buying the books. I'm always researching. I encourage myself to go to those lingerie shops because that turns me on. Doesn't everybody? And so I'm not a size 0, so I go to the hips and the curves place. I go to where I'm welcome. Choose stores that welcome your body. If you're a very slender woman, if you're small-breasted, go to the shops that cater to your body. If you're fuller figured, there are shops for you. So for me, it's being willing to permission myself to be sexy now. Not when I lose 10 pounds or not when I build up my arm muscles. Now. And so every day it's a challenge. What am I going to do today to feel sexy now on my body? How am I going to self-pleasure? How am I going to flirt with the world? So I think sexual boredom's a real big one for all of us. And self-acceptance, and people talk about self-love. I kind of want to hack a hairball when people do that. You have to love yourself and breathe. Love yourself now and breathe. And I'm like, how about I'm going to try to accept myself and not hold my breath today. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to hold my breath. And I'm going to work on being self-compassionate with myself today. And eventually, love will follow. But if I can't start with just holding myself in compassion for my beautiful aging body, for the changes that I'm experiencing in my body, for I am not the woman my husband married when I was 19. I'm just not. You're not either. You're not the woman you were. You're a new woman. And how are you going to welcome her, celebrate her, and be compassionate? Okay, I put crepe erase over here today. I did. I don't know if it's going to work. But I did. I crepe erased. And that was me being self-compassionate to myself. Oh, that bothers me. And Jane Seymour talks about it, and so maybe I can order that and see how that feels on my body. And so allow yourself to explore the great big world of self-loving products that are out there, the teachers that you're learning about in this course. Maybe you want to explore me. I'm cute. So there's lots of there's resources, ladies. You don't need to do this alone. And the first step is knowing that you don't have to be perfect, and that Pamela Madsen told you on the Shift Summit that she put crepe erase on her neck. And now everyone in the universe knows. And I'm telling you that shamelessly. So how do we embrace that? How does that feel, Sabrina?
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I think you've shared many amazing thoughts, Pamela, and I want to give you one last opportunity to share any final thoughts you want with our audience before we leave.
Oh my God. I mean, I feel like I've given like a great big pep talk out there. I hope that you feel turned on, excited, and you're wanting more. And I just want to tell you there's more. And that no matter how I've had women say to me, Pamela, do you think you really can help me? Can you really help me? And these same women, like a year later, are out there exploring in ways that are bigger than what I do. They have far surpassed me. So it's not too late for anybody. In fact, it's just the right time. This is just the right time. Be compassionate. Go for it. We don't know about tomorrow, And the pleasure plan diet is going to help your lasagna taste better. It's going to make you not fight with your partner over how they loaded the dishwasher. When we start bringing pleasure and self-compassion and turn on into our lives, we stop caring about the stupid things that we pick fights over because we just want to feel something. And feeling sad or angry is better than not feeling at all. But I'm telling you, there's a third choice. And the third choice is Menopause. So come play with me.
Well, thank you for that invitation, Pamela. And thank you for all the juicy wisdom that you shared with us today. It's just a turn on in multiple ways.
Yay.
Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yes, ours too, literally. And viewers, thank you for joining us as well. And you can find Pamela at her website, backtothebody.org. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you on the next call.
Thank you for joining us for Resilience and Renewal in your third act. Transform fear and claim your sovereignty in uncertain times. Brought to you by the Shift Network. To learn more, visit thirdactsummit.com. To join our global community of people awakening to their divine humanity and taking inspired action, visit theshiftnetwork.com. Thank you again for gathering with us and for sharing this empowering path with your friends and family.